I don't think wins are as far and few between anymore to warrant that opener, but I just can't kill it off. Pumps me up. Just like FC Cincinnati clearly did to all of you this weekend. That stadium was buzzing. Seriously. Did they have a sell on energy drinks, or did the Knights of the Bailey figure out a way to pulse that drum beat through the concrete? I was toe tapping over from my retired supporter section. Feeling those vibes again, though. I knew it would be great to be back in action, but I underestimated it. Nice day, beautiful day. Seeing OTR and West End packed again, marching with the Bailey to see everyone in Washington Park. Absolutely stunning. Why do we have to be away next week? I want to carry that momentum, but I guess too much of a good thing, and you take it for granted. That rule doesn't apply here, though. You are listening to Cincinnati Soccer Talk, and I think we dropped 4 podcasts and 10 articles on you last week. Hope you'd enjoy that flurry of coverage, and a big thanks to our staff who put in the time and make sure fans have content they need. I keep trying to space out our episode captains, but we had 5 new supporters donate to the free soccer media cause this week. Big thanks to all of you. Thanks to Ashley Newhouse and Dan Burns. I'll work 2 of you in here for keeping local soccer media free for the masses. Let's dive right in today. Rumor is Apple TV is bringing a broadcaster by, so producer Brian is telling me to wrap it up. How you doing, old friend?
You killed that intro just like Gary killed that sword through whatever the hell that was at a 45-degree angle. So we got to work on that. But good thing is we actually are away this week, so Gary
Practice.
can get his sword skills back, just like Brandon can get his shooting boots back, hopefully, quickly.
Put a bunch of rocks outside Mercy Health Training Facility and just stab lessons.
Yeah, just keep going. Or maybe cut some visual things in the snout so he gets better, better visuals.
Oh, next up from the beat writer position, welcome back, Justin.
Thank you. I literally have been running on 2 hours of sleep each night since the MLS came back. Just going through all the videos, watching all the replays, getting ready for Orlando, prepping for the article. I'm going to write for that.
Homie, I told you doing a league-wide sicko show is a lot of work, pal. I did this 8 years ago. There's a reason why I stopped. It's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work.
Sickos, right? MLS sickos.
It's hard when you don't have the 4-up option either. And I missed the 360, the MLS season pass 360 that they have. So I'm just sitting here painfully going through every single match one by one. It's hard, man.
You'll love those 7-minute shows here soon.
Next up, sometimes we have to reach deep into our bag of tricks to give you a treat. He's back. Half Wolf, half Bailey drummer. He's Bill Wolf. How you doing, buddy?
I'm great. Yeah, it's been too long, but I was so psyched up after that game on Saturday. I thought, well, what better thing to do than come out here and talk about it with you guys and relive some of it. So here I am.
No, we are glad you are back. Appreciate you being on. Your insight, your wisdom makes the rest of us look better. We blossom under it, sir.
You mean age, but okay.
Making his debut, Brian. Give me your last name. I'm gonna say it wrong. Oh no! Hold on, I gotta take you off mute here. Sorry, buddy.
What a host!
Yeah, do you really want me to say it? You got me muted.
No, go for it.
Yeah, it's Biedenbach.
Biedenbach. Brian Biedenbach. This guy's legit. You can see his setup. If you're listening to the audio version of the show, you're missing a treat. I was on Brian's podcast a few weeks ago. So impressed, we had to steal him away, make him part of our show.
Yeah, it's good to be here, guys. I've been listening for years and years, so it's good to be here and contributing and talking about the games with you.
No, I think having you will be great. We have to move, though. We have a big show, so we're going to jump right into the best and worst after I tell you that the show is sponsored by Apollo Home, the premium home service provider in Cincinnati. They pride themselves on awesome customer service, expert technicians, and 7-day-a-week service. For a limited time, they are offering a $39 furnace tune-up. Keep your HVAC system running strong this winter with that $39 tune-up offer. Give them a call or schedule online at apollohome.com. You can also just go to our website, click that big banner at the top. Thanks, Apollo, for sponsoring the podcast. Best and worst. Brian, start us off.
I love going first on these. My best of the week, while I don't think it was a perfect performance, I got to say Roman Celentano coming out again, showing his shot stopping skills, commanding his box fairly well. I think you could definitely have some criticism on that goal at the end of the first half. But overall, the guy had a post shot expected goal against him of 2.2. So the guy's already plus 1.2 goals better than average on the season. So I'm so happy that he's coming out again. Looks like he's passing the ball a little bit more confident. Yeah, he airmailed a couple, but I think his passing percentage compared, it's of course 1 week is substantially better than what it was last year. So good for you, Roman, coming off your first U.S. call up, and hopefully more of those. Worst. I know a lot of people were cracking on Lucho this weekend, but I thought he did okay progressing the ball, but I was just a little bit disappointed in what we were able to create over the last I guess we'll say after the 75th minute, because there's like 10 minutes of extra time, but just the inability to create a lot of deadly chances to kill off that match, I would say was disappointing. Even though we were able to bring on a lot of good guys to close out the game, I would like us to maybe press that attack a little bit more in the future.
Yeah, the Lucha takes are going to be all over the place. So I'm interested to see what everybody on this staff thinks as well as we get through the show, because, man, you have your opinions, right? And it's hard to come down on the guy that clearly is one of the best players in the club. But Justin, we'll go to you.
Yeah, I think my best was Obina Nwobino. Commanding presence. I know running through his stats, it may not show up on paper, but his heat map had to be outrageous this weekend. And it often is. And as Brian mentioned, with Lucho Acosta out there on the pitch, you kind of need a player like that that's going to cover a lot of ground, a lot of space. Lucho likes to play up top, plays really high, doesn't really come back in the defensive possessions. And Obina is just an absolute critical piece for this team, and he proved it again this week and banked in a goal. So that was his first goal. Worst, I'm gonna go with not watching it live. For those that don't know, it was my wife's birthday this weekend, so just unfortunate timing. And I was at Braxton Brewery, and I made it through the entire night, silenced everything on my phone. Didn't even look at the FC Cincinnati supporters that were at the bar. I didn't want to see what their expressions were like. And then as I'm like literally cashing out, I see Fox 19 posting the score right in my face. It's like,
oh, it kills you.
Yeah.
Hey, Justin, I got to debate you a little bit here, bud. I think this was the opposite Obi. We'll call him opposite Obi because he got up a lot in the attack early on in the match. He had 2 shot creating actions in this game, which is he averages like normally like 1 to 1.5 per game. The thing that kills me though is it wasn't normal Obi. 0 for 4 on successful tackles on dribbles. He wasn't. I think he normally averages 4 tackles per game. He had 1 tackle the whole match per I think it was like FB ref or something like that. So again, he wasn't completing his passes. 72% versus 85%. So it was not a typical Obi game. I don't think he played bad, but it was just different seeing him in that, I guess, dare I say, a more advanced role than Junior Moreno?
Yeah, for me, I think teams are starting to plan tactics around Obina. A lot of the opportunities that he had were just kind of like scrum situations. So his success rate wasn't very high. I know he was like 71% on tackles. I believe tackles. He was 1 of 1, right? But I think people are really starting to plan around him because there wasn't a lot of traffic going on through the center, and Obina was playing really high up the pitch. I don't know what. I guess it called for it against Houston, but I'm still gonna have to go with him, man. I just every time he's on the pitch, my eyes go there. For years, this club has lacked the CDM role, and he is just a force in the middle. And he's one of the guys on this team that I can trust at possession. but yeah, he's got to work on some things. And first game of the season, man.
We've got some great best and worst coming in the chat. We've been throwing on the screen, especially if they contradict what any of us are saying, because that's even better. Jeffrey Tebbets, though, on YouTube saying worst, no debut available. I noticed that. I went to go get my debut. Despite the hype, it wasn't ready yet. Best, great new podcast on CST that debuted last week. I think that's called self-promotion, Jeff Tebbets. But he's pushing hard for the new pod, Jersey Swap. Check it out. He'll be having a new one come out here mid this week. All right, Brian, we'll bring you on for your first best and worst.
Yeah, I was going to chime in on the Obi commentary just for a second, because I think that I thought he looked strong at the beginning. I think we pressed really high, and maybe we'll talk about that later. We pressed really high and really hard, and I think by 30 minutes in, he was gassed, and he just didn't look like himself. So, Brian, I agree with you there. My best was this week was Brenner. When he came in, I just thought he brought a dynamic to the offense that we didn't see when Santos was in. I think Santos is a really direct, fast player. Brenner's a little bit more all over the place and can control the ball a little bit better. I think he created some chances, didn't finish. He was offsides on the one and blasted a shot that looked really strong, was wide open, and Lucho didn't give him the ball at one point right in front of the goal. So I think Brenner was my best for the short amount of time that he was in this week. My worst, I wanted to say earlier, Hagelin's hair. That was that was his thing last year, man. And he just looked like he woke up right before the game time and forgot he had a game and walked out there. So, but I will skip that one and say Celentano for me was strong. He was strong. He's a good shot stopper. I've been a fan of his since he started. Being a goalkeeper myself, though, I can kind of be a little hard on goalkeeper play, and I thought he was hesitant. So my worst was his play in the air when crosses were coming in, set pieces, corners. We had a lot of them, and he just didn't look as strong as I thought he could have been.
Ooh, tough taking on Roman.
To be fair, I like the guy. I just thought he wasn't strong in the air this week.
All right, Bill, we'll go to you. You were on the drums. Did you get to see any of the game?
Yeah. I always get to see the game when I'm on the drums as best I can. Sometimes the drums suffer a little bit when crazy things are happening on the field and I forget that I'm holding sticks and things, and people look at me like, "What's going on?" I was like, "Oh, sorry, that's right. I have a job to do here." But no, it was a good game. I'm not going to get into the play a whole lot. I think everybody else is covering that. We'll talk about it more later. But for me, the best was that we brought back the march inside the stadium. I think that was something that brought a lot of energy to the fan base. In the past, Nippert, it was a thing. It was part of the traditions of the club, and it was exciting to see that we got that opportunity again. A lot of work went into making that possible. I won't even talk about all the people that were involved, but getting that green lighted and allowed to happen again was a lot of fun, and it was freaking loud. It was great. So definitely that was a highlight for me. And the fans, a lot of them, we heard them saying things like, "It's just like Nippert." So it was nice to kind of see that again and that excitement. Worse for me, again, it's sometimes I'm just surprised by our own fan base, but we won the game. It was an incredible atmosphere, just buzzing with energy. And when the game ends, people are upset about the victory song that we chose. And it's just like, really, is this like the thing that we're going to get upset about is what song we chose? So I'll be honest, I don't even hear it where I'm at. When we're in the Bailey, we're still playing the drums and singing, and they could play anything they want. They could, do Ave Maria for all I care. I can't hear a single note of it, but apparently for some people, it really upset them. So I guess if that's what we have to be upset about, that's fine.
I was just gonna say counterpoint, Bill. If we're mad about that, we are great.
Yeah,
exactly.
Coming off the past
the
first three seasons of MLS.
Yep.
Please make fun of that.
I love
Please
being
make
mad about
fun
dumb
of not
stuff.
being able to sit in a seat where you don't have three people around you in the Bailey. These are great problems.
We have a whole segment on pretzels for that reason, because when times are good, we have to go to the pretzels. And so, by the way, no more pretzels that I could find, at least where I sit. There now pretzel bites. So props to those. Those were actually okay. Still think we can do the German pretzel in the German city, though. So, Bill, if you know somebody, phone that in.
All right, just real quick before we get into our guests and everything, Mecklenburg Gardens kills it with their pretzels. We got to figure out a way to get them on the concourse. We got to do it. Come on, Birding and Co. Let's go. Let's get Mex.
You know what the best, though, is, to my opinion, is Coach Noonan not getting caught up in the emotions of the night. Like, obviously, he talked about how awesome it was, how loud it was, how he felt like the fans pushed that team to holding those points, even though, and this is what I like about it, he said at the end, Houston was playing really well, and FC Cincinnati did not play good enough. Sure, they got 3 points. I think in the past, that would just be overlooked. We would just celebrate the fact we got 3, go into the locker room. Good job, guys. You held on. But we have a coach that sees the game in a whole new way and knows what to focus on this week. Like, hey, you got 3 points, but here's what you messed up on. And that's encouraging to me, just coming off of some bad seasons. Well, I think it's time to bring in, and this is pretty cool of MLS and Apple TV, to go ahead and give us a broadcaster, one of their brand new team. Brian, what game was he on this week? I heard part of it.
Toronto and DC United.
That's right, because we're really here to find out about our fellow Eastern Conference teams and get the lowdown, the scoop. Devin Kerr, thanks for being on Cincinnati Soccer Talk.
Gentlemen, how are we doing this evening? Appreciate you having me on. I have loads to ask about you guys, by the way, about the stadium, the traditions. I'm going to be there in a couple of weeks, so I want to partake in all this. I got friends that have been in the Bailey, but I'm doing very well. Week 1 was incredible. So much fun.
And how was it over on your side of Apple TV and your broadcast?
It's freezing cold, man. We said it on air. I'm from Nebraska. I was born in a blizzard and 16-degree below weather. Now, my blood's definitely thinned a little bit being in South Florida, but during the day, it was 34 degrees and snowing. And as the night went on, it actually got warmer, and my body got, like, my feet started to tense up. I got colder. I don't know how that math works out, how it gets warmer and you get colder, but that's what went on. The broadcast was awesome, though. I think fans got a really good idea of what Apple and MLS are trying to do, and that was showcased at a really high level. And it's only going to get better. Just like the players in preseason, I was listening to you guys talk about, the first match and how Pat was, okay, well, here's what we can focus on, even though we got 3 points. It's the same thing for the broadcasters, right? You take the good with the good, the bad with the bad, and you learn from those things. And, all in all, everybody sounds to be pretty happy from the fan standpoint. I know on the production side of things, we all experienced little issues here and there, but at the end of the day, if we can minimize those so that the fans aren't experiencing them, and maybe we're just kind of put through the ringer, that's the most important thing.
Now, Devin, I'm very excited to have you on our show. Is this the first MLS analyst for Apple TV? In Cincinnati, we know you already, which is exciting because
I brought you guys a gift.
I knew it. I knew you were gonna do that.
What is that?
I knew you were gonna do an MLS or a Louisville City jersey. I say we knew you from our time in USL, bro.
Hey, you guys were great. I had to bring it out. I was like, man, how can I mess with them a little bit? So I brought the Louisville jersey.
I love it.
I had to. Sorry.
We had Corbin Bone on the show a couple weeks ago, and of course, longtime FCC guy, retired as Louisville City player this past year. And I was going to say, we almost had to do some sort of exorcism on him to get that juju off to welcome him back into the fold. So real quick, Devin, tell us your personal journey of, I know you played college soccer, you were over in Germany playing, and tell us how you ended up, your journey through USL and now as a member of Apple TV.
Of course. Yeah. So, grew up in Nebraska, high school, South Florida, college, Stetson University. Realized quickly that was not for me. I was supposed to end up somewhere else, but that's a whole nother conversation. That'll be a beer when I visit the Bailey. Bounced around semi-pro stuff, United States, USL when it was not the USL, the iteration that we see today, Riverhounds, Seattle Sounders, Chivas USA. Little stints with all of them as a squad utility player, getting bounced around and kicked around. And the bulk of my career came in Germany. Unfortunately for me, it was only about a year and a half. injuries galore. I played for a club called Altona 39, which is in the Regionalliga, 4th division, and ended my career with Hamburg with their second team, reserves. Super cool. Got to learn from guys like Vincent Kompany and Nigel de Jong, Rafael van der Vaart, and left the game. When I moved home and retired, I was away from it. I'm the one that, though I'm not comparing myself to guys like Thierry Henry or Zidane and stuff, I'm the one who sits there and goes to the young kids around me, I've done it. I'm better than you. Pay attention to me. So I don't have the patience to coach. Separated from that. Got into estate management, have a friend in production, reached out for referrals for women's announcers, NWSL, gave him a couple. And then he circled back to me. And in 2017, for the better portion of 7 months, I told him no over and over again. Finally did it part-time. 2018, I had at the end of 17, I'd done enough to earn the lead analyst job for USL, and I've been that since 2018. Also the lead analyst for NCAA Men's College Cup on ESPN. Main voice for CONCACAF on the world feeds, CONCACAF Champions League, Gold Cup, Olympic qualifying, Nations League. And what am I missing? Oh, yeah, I train my 2 sons who are currently almost 3 and almost 1. We're currently in training for the youth national team. So that's really taking up the majority of my time right now. So yeah, I got, went through the interview process just like everybody else did with Apple last year. They were very thorough and it was fun. Opportunity came about and I'm just grateful not only for the opportunity with MLS and with Apple, but they've been kind enough to work with me so that I've been able to keep all my other roles. Maybe not as many usages in certain areas, but I'll be able to maintain my role with the other opportunities. So that's really cool for me. I'm excited.
Well, I love, sorry, Boston. I love seeing the relationships you make with the fans. I mean, there's a lot of USL fans that saw that you were going to be on our show this evening, and we're they were giving us a little grief, but they're also very excited to see you. And I think that's kind of a testament to everything you've done and been a part of in this soccer community. So, we appreciate you of course being on. Now with Apple, people say we're trying to make it more like NFL or baseball or more, I guess, professional kind of compared to what we used to. What's your weekly schedule in preparations for each match? Do you have Zoom calls with the coaches, players, develop storylines?
That's a great question. So right now my schedule's a lot easier than it's going to be in a couple of weeks when USL starts or this fall when college kicks in. So right now, traditionally, we're always prepping broadcasters. And what I mean by that is you're looking up stats and players info, you're watching games, highlights, you name it. My week doesn't really ever start or finish. So for instance, I got on a plane 7 a.m. on Sunday morning after the DC Toronto game. I was working on my boards the entire way. I actually did an Orlando City preseason game, so I'd already finished my board. And for you fans at home, the board is it's basically your cheat sheet. It's your information that you keep in front of you with players' information. Every broadcaster has their own little caveats within it. I usually have height, age, hometown, teams that they played for. And then I've got specific little things about them, maybe some nuances that I've picked up that I want to keep in my back pocket for a comment, or maybe just some things that I've picked up in training through comments. So I worked on my boards, watched both games today. I watched you guys and the Houston match, and then I watched Orlando and Red Bull. Did some stuff for our own personal training behind the scenes. But then as the week goes on, that's kind of where it's a little bit more fun. And we get to interact with the players and coaches. Weekly tradition is now going to be a conference call every Thursday where we're going to get coaches on, players on. That request is usually done by midday or mid-afternoon on Monday so that we can accommodate for everybody's schedules. Everybody's got to remember, it's not just, to your point, they're trying to make it like NFL for sure, and we're going to standardize it and that neutral feed that they talk about, but it's not just English. We've also got to account for the Spanish broadcast and French broadcasters. So there's a lot of moving pieces here for the coaches and players as well on the other side. That'll be on Thursday. And then a personal goal of mine that, we're all kind of working through because of travel and stuff is I'm so used to being on site that I get an opportunity to go to training and talk to the guys a little bit further. This past week, I didn't have the opportunity based upon Toronto's schedule. But DC United was accommodating enough. We got in early enough. So went there, had a chat with Wayne Rooney, talked to Christian Benteke, Benteke, excuse me, Matej Klich was awesome. What a personality, by the way.
Mhm.
I know he's in the Eastern Conference, and you guys are going to be matched up, but that's a guy who will be a fan favorite. He's awesome to interact with.
Great.
And, see friends, see family members in the cities. I think people also got to remember that we're fans too, right? I think that I have the best job in the world, and I never go to work. And I get tired and I travel and stuff, but getting a chance to interact with fans and players, like what more could I ask for? So then you do it all over again the next week. Get up on match day. We're usually there 3 hours ahead of time or so, chat with the guys on the field, go through the production stuff, make sure that all the technological things are set forth, a couple rehearsals. Hopefully my hair hasn't been messed up too much. I might be able to wear a hat in this cold weather though, and then they send me on my way. So
Nice. Oh man. So I know you worked with Mike Watts, and we're all big fans of Mike Watts, and we remember our USL days. We still tune in every now and then, try to catch the odd match here or there. How rigid is your new schedule? Can you sneak a little word sneak? For those of you who don't know, Mike Watts used to play some word sneak with the fans and try to sneak something in there.
Yeah, give it to me, man. You put a list together, and I'll promise you. So I'm actually paired with Tyler Terrence. He's a fun-loving kind of guy. He's outgoing. He's got they're similar but different, Tyler and Mike. But he loves word sneak. We sneak in and every now and then. You guys put a list together and send it my way. I promise you it's going to make its way onto the broadcast this weekend.
Nice. All right. Well, maybe we'll put a little challenge out there to the listeners.
There you
go. Give us some words, and we'll get together a list for you guys.
I love it. Now we're back to Apple. We're doing so many new things. Of course, I guess you could say kind of building the plane as we're flying it right now. But 1080p broadcasts. It's a high level broadcast compared to anything that we saw last year. I think FC Cincinnati always did a tremendous job, but the quality of broadcasts have been outstanding. What new aspects are Apple hoping to bring over the course of this year, and what are you most excited for with the Apple journey?
So let's start with the most excited part. Number one, as a professional in the industry, calling the games and chasing all of this information, I'm excited it's all in one spot. Fans should be just as excited for that because, before, and this isn't a disrespectful thing, it's just the convenience of having it all in one location, right? If I'm, I can call a CONCACAF World Feed and I got to go chase it on Fox or CBS to watch the international games, right? If I'm doing a Champions League game, I've got to chase it through Today NA or something like that to, see what teams performed like. And I'm specifically referencing an MLS team in that area. Fox, ESPN last year, Today NA, all of that. Now it's with Apple and within the multi-language facet, which is super awesome. But you can go and see anything you want any point in time. To be able to jump on and watch a game just like that. And this is not just for Apple users, by the way. I'll be honest. I know this is a very big no-no for my bosses at home, but I'm happy to tell you, I am not an Apple user. I'm not. I am now, kind enough to send one over. I got the phone now, but I'm the green texter that everybody loves to hate, right?
Oh, me too, man.
Right? And I'm okay with that. But, I'm familiar with Apple products. I've used them for a long time. When I was in estate management, that was certainly something that was cued in on. It's really cool to see the different interface between the products. And so whether you're an Apple user or not, the ability to control everything is right there. Galaxy users jump on, PC, you can jump on and use the exact same facilities. And so within 30 seconds, you're watching a game. The content that they're providing, it's not just matches, highlights for sure. We saw the 360 and all that stuff, which is incredible, but the interviews are really neat. The lead-ins to the teams, right? And who they have voicing them over. I encourage everyone, even myself, I used it as an opportunity to get ahead a little bit on prep, downloaded it to my phone, which is another cool thing. Again, not a disrespectful comment to any of the predecessors that were involved in this, but all of this material can be streamlined directly to your phone. You don't want to get Wi-Fi or anything when you're on the plane. Download it to your phone, download it to your MacBook, and you can watch it right there. That's awesome to me. I would say, so the ease of use and all of it together is one. I'm also really curious because this is something that's going to be coming out eventually is kind of the high quality productions you talked about. For me, it's going to be the customer experience, because I'm a customer too, right? Like, think about what Apple does for the world and the share that they have of the United States. Now, Samsung a little bit bigger worldwide, but within the United States and what they can do for this game, like their ecosystem with music, news, podcasts. I mean, the maps, incorporating that into a fan experience. So maybe you're a fan that comes in from out of town and you want to experience, TQL for its finest, and you want to know what the Bailey's like. Maybe you guys have your own pregame soundtrack that gets incorporated into an area that they're visiting. Maybe it's popping up local food and beverages that everybody else partakes in, and you want those people to be involved in. Those are little things that my mind drops to, because like when I go on the road for USL or CONCACAF or anything, Open Cup, I'm going, hey fans, like, where do I go? What do I do? What's fun? Let's have a drink. Let's have some food. Let's talk, right? Those are things that in my mind are really cool ways that I could see them connecting with fans and helping to like not just build on what we have, but connecting future generations, right? Because it's such a massive growth that we see within this sport right now. They'd be able, just the opportunity as well to go catch everything. If you miss something, to just go back and download it, watch it fresh, no spoilers or anything like that. We've never had the ability to see anything like that in this country, in this sport, which is really, really cool. I think Taylor Twellman said it on one of his tweets when he announced that he was going to get, be the lead broadcaster for this. And he said something along the lines of, to be able to unapologetically cover this sport. And he meant it in the sense of giving you guys everything, right? Because at the end of the day, we're fans just like you all, and we sit there and, we can watch games and we can break it down and stuff. But the most important thing for us at the end of the day is providing an experience for everyone. And so whether it's the broadcaster or the production staff or the person serving food, Apple, MLS, we're just trying to find a way to make that experience better for everyone. And in my opinion, we're taught not to say opinion. We're supposed to say this is definitively why something happens. But in my opinion, I thought week one was really, really cool, as a fan. And on the production side, it was great for me. So,
yeah, I think collectively, I hope you all got a nice sigh when it seemed like right after the matches, the feedback was really positive. Fans were, you never know going into week one of something. You kind of expect hiccups, you kind of expect production problems. But let me tell you what blew me away was the intro to the FC Cincinnati match. I was at the game, but I came home and I wanted to see how Apple was, so I turned it on. I watched it. Whoever shot those camera angles, like above the stadium, flying in the stadium, freaking beautiful. So pass my thanks along to whoever did that great photo work. It was really, really good. You, however, were doing Toronto FC DC, which was one of MLS's. It was kind of a thrilling week one. No draws last time I looked, and a lot of comeback wins. What's your biggest takeaway from that match that you were at?
Okay, a bunch of things. Toronto is good enough to win the whole league, and they could miss the playoffs too. Honestly, I mean, that's kind of the talk that was going into the game, to be fair as well. We kind of heard some rumblings from camp. They've got a quality starting 11. I wonder how deep that will run. Would say that they're fortunate if you can view it from that standpoint, that they're not having to deal with Champions League this year. So, but yeah, I think that their 11 is good enough once they get going. And that was the issue within this game. They were slow to start. They struggled moving through the midfield. DC United were much better, just finding a way to break through the lines. I know it's a conversation or a phrase that's thrown around too much, but in this specific situation, I have to use it because it was such a segmented game watching it. I sat back and it was playing off the back line, finding a way to bypass the front three, which they did of Toronto's pressure, not press, quite rapidly. But I do think that in the long run, that team will certainly have enough talent to be there. Depth will be a question, and whether they can maintain a high level of consistency. That's not just my words. Bob Bradley, in the lead into the game, said the same thing. He said that last year we showed everybody what we were capable of. Yes, defensively we need to be better, but that's a front to back thing, not just can we solve the goalkeeping issue with Sean Johnson? Can we solidify some things in the back line? We need to be better as a team defending. And you saw that wasn't the case within that game. Transitioning to DC, they are banged up. You know, they're missing a couple of guys that are also not in form, and yet you've got 3 children, literally, that took over the game at the end. And selfishly, I've seen, you know, Cuda Pietro, who's got the game-tying assist and the game winner. I've seen that kid since his first professional game. Shared an awesome moment with him after the match. You know, we interviewed him for 360, and then as the cameras were off, we just shared some good time. And I went and met up with Ryan Martin, who's the head coach of Loudoun United, and we just talked about how incredible it is to see him and Jacob Green and who was on the bench, and Jackson Hopkins, right? Christian Fletcher was awesome too. So they're young players. The impact that they can have was really, really cool. But they have a lot of things to work through too, because they played very well for extended periods of time. But in the second half of that game, they were non-existent until they needed to be in the final 15 minutes. And that was all because of the young kids coming off the bench, showing why they are on that first team roster and that they can be difference makers. And I think it made a lot of the professionals on the field and on their bench look around and go, we better get our you-know-what together, because the talk from their organization coming in was, you're going to see these guys get extended minutes, and if players aren't careful, they'll grab some first team and 11 spots regularly. I think we saw that in the final 15 minutes, that they could be guys that could easily be looked upon for Wayne Rooney as the season continues to progress. Yeah,
that was a heck of a call, especially in the tying, and then that game-winning moment for DC United. Before we get you out of here, I would love to hear, you know, what you are most excited about to see this weekend out more, I guess, so on our side out of FC Cincinnati.
Yeah, I love the squad, to be honest. You guys were talking about it a little bit before I came on. I referenced it about how, you know, Pat Noonan gets the 3 points, was very honest in his post-game comments about, yes, with the fans and the energy level and good to go get a win, but that wasn't our best performance. And I would agree with him. You give me 20, 25 minutes in that first half, if you can replicate that, bring the notch up a little bit, you're looking at a team that's a title contending team. You're no longer wondering what the vision or the spine is going to be for FC Cincinnati. That was established, and now you're just adding layers to it, right? I would like to see the defensive shape a little bit better and more consistent, starting at the top. Thought that there were a lot of times where, because of the movement from Houston, whether down underneath with the double pivot or the way that they were working with their outside mids, they caused a lot of problems quickly coming off the back line. It made the front three really work. And so positionally, 2 strikers would move. Lucci got caught out. And so that pocket down in the middle, Hector Herrera slid right into it and quickly moved through. And that opened up a lot of space. It's a trickle-down effect, right? The domino falls, the next one goes. So I want to see that start, because although the goal is given up, and I understand that much of the defensive pressure was chasing instead of shifting back side to side. And this Orlando team has the ability to showcase similar attributes that you saw from the Houston Dynamo. Yes, you got the victory for sure, but by no means was it a full performance. The way that they shift, especially with Facundo Torres, people at home, pay attention. There's this over pivot on the right-hand side. Their right back, Mikey Holiday, will get really high. He's young. He's intermittently speedy. He will take off, but he knows he's got to track back and can make mistakes. So you can capitalize that on the counter. But when they bring Torres in, they've basically got 2 6s and 2 10s. If they can find a 9, that's the question mark for Orlando. If they can find a 9, that's going to be a real issue for FC Cincinnati. But I think the team's really good. I do. I love watching them play. Tactically, it's fun. Barreal on the left is a personal favorite of mine. You guys were talking about Obi. He's another one. I could just put most of his performances on wash, rinse, repeat. Left a little bit to be desired, but there's a ton of talent on this team, and it's going to be a growth pattern all season long. And week 2 on the weekend, I don't have to get on a plane, which is nice. I can drive 2.5 hours. So
there you go.
Yeah, that's exciting too. I won't be freezing. I won't be on a plane, but I will be calling the match, and I can't wait to see him in action.
Well, Devin, thank you very much. It's going to be an exciting one this weekend. I think 2 of the top, maybe 4 teams in the Eastern Conference battling it out down in Orlando. So, guys, make sure to hop on Apple TV, subscribe, keep checking it out, and definitely listen and watch Devin this weekend. Devin, thank you so much, and hopefully talk to you again very soon.
Appreciate you, boys. I'll see you in a couple weeks. Adult water's on me.
Thank you, sir. Have a good one, man.
See ya. All righty. Thanks to Devin for coming on Cincinnati Soccer Talk. He is a blast, and I'm really glad we got a chance to have that interview. And yeah, we'll see him again soon. He'll be. He said he's going to be in town. Will somebody buy him a Coney? Buy him a Das Boot. Hopefully they're in stock by then, and we'll get Devin hooked up. All right. We talked about it. Apple TV hit this week. Initial impressions seem to go pretty well online. Sure, there's might be a couple hiccups. I think it's better than Star 64. I didn't have to watch Big Bang Theory.
Almost forgot about that.
Brian, what was your takeaways? Did you get a chance to check any of it out yet?
This Brian?
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. I thought the broadcast was good. I thought the quality was there. I always watched it on ESPN because I'm out of town anyway. But yeah, I thought it was good. A few things that stuck out to me were the score up at the top. Like it looked really, really simple. It just had the colors, and the color was wrong for Houston at one point. It was black and wasn't orange. So that stood out to me a little bit. I don't know if I like that or not yet. The simplicity or the actual logo of the teams or whatever. But that was one thing that stuck out to me. I did enjoy it.
Bill, did you get a chance to check it out, or did you?
I haven't gone back and watched the game yet. I did catch the highlights, but they didn't have the game out at the time that I tried to go back and watch it. I did watch a lot of prep beforehand. Some of the different whatever you want to call it, experiences and such going into the game. I like the additional content. I think it's great. I think the potential is there. I think the quality is high. Like Devin, I am not an Apple person. I've got a Google Pixel and I literally don't own a single Apple product. So, for me, the bar wasn't high, but I mean, I didn't have Apple TV. I didn't have an Apple subscription. I think MLS has done it right in giving away a license to all their season ticket holders. I think that's incredible. And it was honestly really easy. I just, logged in, set up an account and married the two together, and boom, I've got MLS. So I'm really impressed with how easy they made it. And I guess we should be surprised. I mean, Apple's known for that. So
yeah. I think the production of the games was very good. I think it always could be better. I think there's going to be hiccups along the way as the first week. The one part that I think I was most disappointed about was the pregame shows. And while it's exciting to have those things, I think the fact that they were only 30 to 40 minute pregame for a national audience doesn't necessarily build the storylines and everything that they're going to try to do. I think they're a little shallow. The show's a little hollow. Just quick hits when you really need to take those opportunities to dive down into the weeds and sell a Brandon Vasquez, sell a Carrasquilla, who was a great player for Houston this weekend. I'd love to see those, do more profiles on these guys. But that being said, maybe they leave those things towards later in the year, towards the midweeks, because we got 8-9 months worth of content. And
we have 34 games. If you sell it all in the first one, you got nothing to talk about.
Hey man, this is a great option for MLS to expand the roster so we can do more of these profiles. And again, like the one thing I really love, and kind of Devin hit on it, is the Spanish. I've been banging this drum since even in the USL days of more Hispanic coverage of FC Cincinnati. I think that's been a huge glaring issue, catering to all the different members of our community. And I'm glad that there's an easier option for those members of our fan base to pursue their to pursue that, or at least view that every week. So I'm excited to see what more people that will bring to Major League Soccer.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to. I meant to ask him this, and I didn't get to it, so maybe we'll get to it next week. What they're going to do midweek? Is Apple TV going to get me to come back when there's not a game on? That would be pretty awesome. Justin, any thoughts?
Yeah, watching some of the games that I saw, it didn't look like there was like a full studio halftime show. You had the host breaking down some of the scores around the league. Are they planning on doing a halftime show? I thought that was
You would hope so. You would hope
Yeah.
so. I agree with you. That was a big surprise I had too. I'm glad you picked that out, Justin. Just those are little differences that you pick up. We're comparing them to the $150 billion animal in the room right now, but in the NFL. But yeah, there's a lot of room for improvement. It's definitely not a finished product, but I'll tell you what, I would put that broadcast team that we had for FC Cincinnati this weekend up against any broadcast team that we had. I think we were spoiled with Tommy G and that group putting out great TV. Nobody touched what I think FC Cincinnati did outside of a couple markets, and this I think was there, maybe surpassed it in terms of TV coverage.
Yeah,
Quality.
I watched a lot of ESPN Plus last year, and most of the time I saw the opposing, like the away broadcast, and it just felt very biased and homered to me. And I thought our guys did a great job. When the occasional time I would be able to catch them, I thought they did a great job. But I'm biased towards that team as well. But I do like the neutral broadcast that Apple TV is bringing.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. I was very impressed overall. For real though, if you haven't gone back and watched the game, watch at least the first 5 minutes, because I thought the intro was phenomenal. They when they don't have anything to show, like when the anthem's playing or something like that, then they go to a corner camera. That's the only dull moment in the pregame. But otherwise, I thought they did a phenomenal job. A lot of new angles that we haven't seen before. So props to Apple for all the new angles and the new cameras. And if you are a videophile, it's pretty fun. We got to talk about this game though, guys. We had a game this week and we've hardly touched on it. FC Cincinnati beats Houston 2-1. Who impressed? Noonan was a little critical after the game. As fans, you're pumping, you're running for joy, and then you see that and you go, oh yeah, I guess there were some problems. But Bill Wolf, give me your expert analyst of this game analysis.
No, I mean, I think Noonan probably said most of what we would say at this point. I mean, yeah, we won, but it was definitely not our best performance. There was a lot of sloppy turnovers. I think the attack was fairly lackluster at times. We definitely had opportunities that we didn't capitalize on. In my mind, a lot of this is rust. I think we know the quality of this team. I think Noonan knows the quality of this team, and that's why he was so critical. Is that wasn't good enough. We saw better than that at the end of last season. There's a couple new players in the mix, but really this is the same team, and they should have been able to come out a lot more cohesive and a lot stronger than they did.
How about that Sergio Santos though, coming off, starting for Brenner? Maybe Brenner's still getting worked in the lineup.
He came a little late into the preseason, as I remember. So, there may have been some of that, but perhaps it was a tactical decision because of Houston. Maybe they thought, Sergio and his speed and his physicality would be beneficial. I like Santos. I think he brings a different aspect to our attack. I think, people use the term glass, and I hate to say that, but my gosh, every time the guy falls down, it's like I die a little bit. I mean, it's just like, is he going to stay on the field? Because I mean, what was the first game he played for us? He was like 5 minutes in, and he got hurt and got pulled off the field. So yeah, there's always that concern with him, but he gives a lot, and he's very aggressive, and that's different than we see with a lot of the other players. So it's nice just to have different tools, right? I mean, I think it's great that Noonan can pick and choose. Does he want a real tactical player like Brenner? Does he want a real fast player like Santos? Does he want somebody who's like a true number 9 hold up player like Vasquez can be? He can mix. It's nice.
Santos is like a batter you find in a drawer from 1993. It gives you like a ton of energy all at once, and then it's gonna run out by the 15-20 minutes. So
we got to put that on a short, Boston. This whole thing right there. That's a great comparison, and we got to put that on the back of Sergio Santos baseball or whatever player card.
I don't know if it's that good, but we had a couple other new players out there. Brian, anyone impress?
Well, got to see who's on the rundown first there, pal. All right, Yerson Mosquera. I love it. All right, I'm going to throw this down to Boston, or to Brian and Justin a little bit more. We're going to call myself Bry for right now.
There you go.
All right, so Brian, with the I misspelled. It's okay. What's your initial impressions on our newest center back, Yerson Mosquera, coming over from Wolverhampton? Hadn't played in a while.
Yeah, first thing I'll say, I like his speed. I think we saw a lot of his speed, partly because he was out of position, it seemed like several times.
Ding, ding.
Yeah, so I think he's getting used to that back line, playing with those guys. The chemistry's not there yet. I don't know what it is, but he did get caught out a little bit. I do think, too, it seemed like, at least initially, our game plan was to press high, so maybe he was just pushing high a little too much, a little bit too late in the game. Maybe he trusted his speed too much. I don't know. I think he's a good player. I think we'll see more of him. I'd love to see that speed used maybe going forward instead of recovering to get back.
Justin, would you agree with this statement about Mosquera, is that it looked like a player who hasn't played many professional matches in the past year and a half?
Oh, certainly. Yeah,
looked a little rusty.
He looked a little rusty. He was definitely out of position a lot of time. I mean, some of that is partly because Barrial was playing so far up the pitch.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's kind of a difficult ask to get a guy first game in MLS, and we all know MLS has some unique challenges. But yeah, I think he was a bit needs some polishing. But I mean, it wasn't a catastrophe. Right. I mean, he made a bit of a nuisance. He's a big physical presence. And like we showcase, the speed is definitely something that raises the eyebrows around the MLS. So
he doesn't look like out of place. Like you'd see some of our old guys or, early MLS players that we brought in. You hear, oh, this great highlight reel about him. And then they get on the pitch and you're like, yeah, no, I don't know why he's here. Like you can see with your son. Okay, yeah, I understand why he's well thought of. So that's exciting. Now Justin, again, Santiago Arias. You got to see him, I think, a little bit in training this past week as well. What's your thoughts on his debut? Did he impress? What did you like the most?
I mean, it's a bit of the same, right? I mean, obviously on the opposite end of the spectrum, you have an older, more experienced player that is coming back from injury. And really had some kind of weird minutes this year, this preseason with the trial period, and he I think he missed a couple. He missed the last game, didn't he, or one of the last games? But anyhow, he to me wasn't terrible. It just you could tell the minutes were just too much for him. So as he gets a little bit more conditioned and playing against Orlando, I think I like that we're playing a little bit higher with him. But yeah, he's definitely a guy that impresses me with the ball at his feet. But I just would like to see a little bit more of that, pushing up a little bit further up the field and have that pace.
What did you think, Brian, around the 70th minute when he did push up high in the field in that press situation? He got into the right spots. He pressed that their left back, got the turnover, and then of course Lucho Acosta couldn't put the ball in the back of the net. But
right.
I mean, he got into a lot of the right spots, knew where to be.
I think so too. I think his technique, I think, is good on the ball. He picked the pockets a couple times of the attackers. I think he stepped in passing lanes pretty well and was able to, as he stepped in that passing lane, intercepted the ball, and then get upfield. I'm excited to see more of him. I didn't know who he was as a player much before this, so I'm excited to see more of what he brings to that right side.
Yeah, Bill, we've seen a lot of headaches with FC Cincinnati land, and I thought one of the coolest aspects of this match is that you saw Houston bring on college draft picks and guys that didn't have the pedigree, and we brought on 2 seasoned fullbacks and Yuya Kubo and Brenner, and we didn't give up the game. Like how many of you guys got a text message? Bill, you were drumming, so you probably couldn't answer your phone. But how many of you guys got the text message? Oh, this is when FC Cincinnati chokes it.
Yeah.
but we had the tools that we didn't have last year. We didn't bring in, and I love him, but we didn't bring in Nick Markanic. We didn't bring in Harrison Robledo. We brought in veterans. I mean, you're already leaps and bounds better this year.
Yeah, the depth is way more than it was. Obviously, we brought in a new right back. We were just talking about him. It's phenomenal to see that, but that then opens us up to have players like Powell and Gaddis, who were essentially our starters last year, now stepping in as a substitute, and that maturity that they bring at the end of the game was great. I think sometimes last year we were exhausted. We had a long season. Players, you could tell that near the end of the season they were starting to kind of fade, and we'd end up bringing in these young players, and it's great to have that energy that they bring, but they lack that maturity at the end of the game that sometimes you just have to kind of ride out that game, especially in this type of situation where we weren't dominating, we weren't the team, we didn't have a 3-0 lead or anything like that, and we really did have to play this one out smart. And you could see that with the players we brought in, that they didn't drop off, and they knew how to handle the moment.
Yeah, Brian, I was going to ask this question to our host, Boston Razzle Dazzle Brazzle, because he's a fan of left back Zico Bailey, but I'm going to go to you, B. We haven't said his name much tonight, and I think it's a crime that we haven't done this yet. But Alvaro Barreal, the guy, we couldn't get things going. Even early, I mean, we did pretty well, like in the first 15 minutes, but we still struggled to get things going. How critical is it that we have him now up that left side to add as another facet of creativity with this offense?
Yeah, I like Barreal. I like the way he creates. I think sometimes he takes on too much, but I do think the chances that we had, he was very involved in creating that, creating those chances. I love his speed down that side. I think, we talked about Mascara a little bit. I think the challenge is the two of them paired up potentially on the defensive side, because of his activity up top and his creativity. But I was wondering when his name was going to come up, because I think he was the man of the match for me this week, and I think I'm excited to see what he brings as he continues to mature as a player.
I got a beef with MLS Fantasy. Somehow Alvaro Barreal only got 6 fantasy points. That is a crime, MLS Fantasy. 6 fantasy points.
There needs to be more prop bets too for a Major League Soccer. Like, there really needs to be in what minute will Barreal tug his shorts and pull them up? Everybody, it's literally a game in my section. Everybody waits for it, and they say, when's he going to do it? How soon's it going to be? Right? He's about to go off and have a great offensive play.
You and Ken got an interesting group there, Boston. Jeez. It's your ladies. Right now.
The one Barreal moment of this match that I thought was very interesting is he's been talking to our co-host Justin Hoyt a little bit. Anybody else catch that? You had a lot of Barreal's open hand waves over there on the side, especially at the start of the game. We were cracking up. Good to see someone has taken the Hoyt is always open role. It seems to be like
I had that same thought at one point, Boston. He was standing at the corner of the 18 and nobody saw him.
Yeah, poor guy. He finally got worked in there, but it did seem for 5 minutes that they're gonna pretend like he wasn't there. All right, well, sorry, real quick. I want to jump into our Growler Cup. It is in full force. Just got kicked off. Week 1. I gotta say, nearly every single one of you are walking away with at least a point. A couple sly supporters picked against FC Cincinnati just so in case they won, they would be so far ahead of the herd. I admire the tactic, but unfortunately it backfired on you. Pretty much everybody still in the Growler Cup. No, I didn't. I picked 2-1. I got 5 points. Brian, I see you pointing at me. No, I mean, I keep the score, so someone might want to audit this thing, but I think I got 5 points. It's not too late though. It's still pretty early in the game. We play 3 rounds in the Growler Cup, so the first third of the season is its own game. The second third of the season is a second game, and then the last third, of course, being the final game of the Growler Cup. And then we kind of have a playoff as well coming after that. You can join feedback. No, sorry, wrong one. Feedback at Cincinnati Soccer Talk to reach out to us, but support Cincinnati Soccer Talk /support on our website will get you where you need to go. Big thanks to all those that do support us. Anything else you want to touch on, Brian, as far as players go?
Yeah, I guess the only thing I was really going to say is just how high and how excited I am to see Arias and Barreal getting into the attack. I put it here, Barreal and Arias actually each had 16 touches in the attacking third. In the middle third of the field, Barreal had 31 and Arias had 22. So just the fact that they're going to push up the field, it's going to put a lot of pressure back on our back three. And this upcoming week playing Orlando, and then the next week playing Seattle, it's going to be tough. I mean, having 3 points out of this week one is great with this opening stretch of games. So I think you're going to see a lot of growing pains to start, but I'm very excited to see how this will amplify our attack, kind of getting into the dog days of summer.
We're playing a lot of teams that won. Justin,
Brian?
I'll throw it. Sorry.
Yeah, no. I was just going to say, back to the Apple TV broadcast, I think that every player they highlighted for FC Cincinnati, they listed as a forward, including Barreal. And so maybe there's something to that in getting him into the attack.
To be fair, like half of them used to be forwards.
That's true.
Kubo, Barreal.
Very true.
we take you from your forward position and put you elsewhere, and then it takes a couple of years, but we'll turn you into a defender or midfielder eventually. No, Brian, to touch on your point, I was looking around and I was like, oh my goodness, Orlando won and Seattle won, and we're Nashville. We're going to be playing some tough teams here, and hopefully FC Cincinnati can keep adding some points. I think some of us predicted that the first part of the season was our big time to build points because we are the club that's returning most of our players, and a lot of other people are starting over. Do we still feel that way after seeing some of these scores this week?
Oh, not with Seattle and Philadelphia. I mean, they're returning a ton of talent, so I don't think there was any qualms with them. But yeah, I think you're still going to see that. I think Orlando's still not going to be where they're going to be at the end of the season. Yeah, DC United, obviously flashpoint. And as Devin said earlier, Toronto, I mean, if they get things rolling, they could be the best team in the East. They really do have the talent. They're just quandrous. And like, it's really hard to trust a Bob Bradley coach team, but it is a very, like last year they were storming. They made those signings in the summer and they were storming back from last place in the East to playoff position. And then the just bottom fell out and dropped 5 consecutive games. So I think right now is the time for Cincinnati to really solidify that.
If they can come up with 9 points in their first 5 games, so you got versus Houston, at Orlando, versus Seattle, at Chicago, at Nashville. I mean, I think I'd be just delighted if we can get to that point. But, yeah, it's definitely a tough road because then you still go Miami and Philadelphia right after those games. So with our talent and Brenner and Vasquez and not knowing what lies ahead with those guys, you can't drop points if you have that hold on a match.
Yeah, that's a valid point. Oh man, let's get into.
I do have one quick question here, Boston guys. Kevin Cooney on YouTube looks like worries about Vasquez missing open goals. Justin, Brian?
No worries. I mean, it's encouraging to see that we have so many opportunities because I mean there was a volley of services that could have been netted, but I'm not worried about it right now. Brandon, the whole chemistry is still getting there. I think there was a couple of touches that probably were just more of the product placement rather than him finishing. But I'm not worried about Brandon Vasquez right now.
Yeah, I think it'll come. I think once they get working into the trio of Lucho and Brenner and Vasquez again, I'm not too concerned. But I do, the 20 seconds after we scored the first goal and he missed that open net. I thought that was a beautiful chance. It was a little off, but I think normally he makes that. I think he hits that. I'm not too concerned.
Yeah. Everyone misses every now and then. Not nothing to freak out about there. Oh, let's jump into the stadium atmosphere back at TQL Stadium. I know a couple of us were not there that night. Although I will say, and I wasn't just buttering fans' bread at the top of the show. TQL was popping. I mean, it exceeded expectations, and maybe it was the March coming in, as Bill alluded to. Maybe that helped, but maybe it's the build coming off of last year. But we've heard a lot of talk about the leadership of this club, mainly the coach and the GM, really want fan energy to fuel this team. And it's something that they know we can do as fans, and they feel like we should be able to energize that, whether that's getting there early, whether that's making more noise, or essentially we're going to need your help when it comes to the tail end of the game. And it was pretty awesome to hear the fans answered. Bill, you were in the thick of it more than I was. Was it just ruckus over there?
It was crazy. It was it was basically USA Mexico kind of feel in the Bailey. I mean, it was really insane, the energy that we brought. Maybe the first home game for MLS against Portland kind of feel. The march was huge. The Bailey was insanely loud, crazy. It was one of those events that you remember, and so many people came off of that just buzzing for the whole next 24 hours. It was a lot of fun. So I would do that. If we could do that every week, this season will go by so fast. We'll be looking back thinking, what just happened? How did we get through 34 games? So
I don't know. Did it come through the television, guys? Those of you that were watching online.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's hard to gauge because you don't know, like, if they're because a lot of broadcasts, especially like in college football or NFL, they put like a filter over the crowd noise. It just kind of doles it out a little bit, meshes it, but like there was none of that. It was completely unrestricted. I mean, it was loud whenever we scored the first goal, Sergio Santos. So hats off.
Yeah, I could feel the energy through the screen. I wish I was there. I had family that was there and kind of echoed the same thing you were saying, Boston. The energy was there. People were hyped. People were excited. And I think it's one of those things where, the fans fueled us for a long time, fueled the team for a long time in USL. And then, we've had some down years, obviously, right? And so what the team brought last year, getting us to the playoffs, I think the city's excited again. I think the city's there to cheer them on, and I think they're going to bring it this year.
I think it was the new sword, Gary carrying that sword, sticking it in the stone. Oh no, you can't get too frustrated. I know some people are like, "What was that?" You can't get too frustrated with that kind of stuff. Actually, I did hear through the grapevine that Major League Soccer has requested more clubs get. I guess a thing, if that makes sense, like a pre-match ritual type of thing, like the Timbers cutting the log or Columbus's stupid jackhammer thing. So I guess this is the official FC Cincinnati thing, and it could be a lot worse in my opinion.
I'd honestly, I prefer that if they're going to add one of these things, it'd be like obliterating Bob Brumberg's drum that used to always happen every game, something a little bit more natural than a 45-degree sword. But oh well, I'm glad to see the Bailey back to where it was on TV, and just seeing those camera angles. Over the past couple of years, we've been used to seeing the first 3 middle sections full and the tops empty. So it's very exciting to see. And I know there's a lot of consternation. There's a lot of displeasure with how crammed it was in there. Just give it patience. I think we wrote in our match day guide, give everything a little bit of patience. This is the long-term game, and people are going to get more educated. You're going to bring more friends. You're going to meet new friends. Just get along with it. I know it's tough. I'm never going to tell well, I try not to tell people how to support. You support your own ways. But just give it a little patience and try to learn from guys like Bill and supporters group leaders, the guys not the guys, the ladies, the guys there that dedicate hours on making this a better atmosphere for you. So, Bill, thank you for your service, and
Thank you.
Yeah, can't wait to see it get better every week.
Well, before I get into my final thoughts, I want to give a big thank you to every single person that supports Cincinnati Soccer Talk. We can't do it without you. We have a team of photographers, team of writers, team of podcasters, and it all adds up, unfortunately. So big thanks to Red Lee, John Davidson, Robert Stevens, Laurel Failer, Matthew Adamczyk, Riley Stephen Burke, James Denbrough, Tom Newhouse, Brian Weigel, Brian Gills, Dan Alberts, Will Kychek, Ian Rexroad, Carl Feit, Christina Sharma, Kyle Pohl, Rupesh, Tom Beaversdorf, Jason, who is super average, John Haskell, Ryan Ernst, Mary Lou, Wes Anastasi, Rob Pierce, Clifford Adams, Thomas Steps, Pierce Johnson, Mike Parentis, David Wiederhold, Rob Gassell, Brad Weigel, Kevin L. Day, Paul Hedger, Jamie Smed, Alex Carnegus, Dave Tingler, Patrick Lahani, Mike Bowman, Brett Sova, Chris Hubbard, Kevin Cooney, Joe Max, Jack Emery, Sarah Gorman, David Moore, Bob Ryan Durkin, Bart Labita, Rob Triple, Joe Lohr, Bill Leopold, Maureen De Moray, Jose, David Myers, John Caffardi, Olympico, Joseph of Hanger, 937, Justin Blair, Kyle Phillips, Ashley Newhouse, Dan Burns, Tyler Nolan, Mark Andrew Klippinger, Justin Gregory, and Scott Dalton. Thank you for supporting Cincinnati Soccer Talk. And thank you to all those names at the end that make this list even longer. And you test my breaths, but I appreciate it. We will get into your final thoughts. Justin, I'm going to change things up and put you on the spot first.
Unexpected. I have to collect myself. No, I really don't have very many final thoughts. I mean, I'm just really excited to actually sit down and watch games this weekend. And not have like the replay and get the like reaction on Twitter, get to react, maybe go out to, I think we have Wings and Rings up here in Union. Might go up there and see if anybody's got any support up that way. But yeah, that's pretty much my final thoughts today.
All right. We'll throw it over to you, our new Brian.
Yeah, I'm excited about the season. I always am. I think we've got a solid team. We got some solid players. We've added some new talent, some solid pieces to kind of plug some holes that maybe we had last year. So I'm optimistic about the season and looking forward to seeing how we build the chemistry as it goes.
Brian?
Okay, Apple, I got a bone to pick with you. FC Cincinnati didn't come out late. They came out very late at halftime. And I think there was a missed opportunity. If we would pay you another $2.99 per month, you would put a camera in the locker room. That, of course, wouldn't show any particulars. But then we could have seen Pat Noonan maybe chew out his players. I think that might have happened. Like, what the hell you let it go in? Just saying, Apple. Think about us. We'll pay extra for this stuff. No, loved it. Very excited for FC Cincinnati, and can't wait to see more of it this weekend.
I debated playing the Wolf sound again, but I'll spare you, Bill. Final thoughts.
Yeah, one's enough, I think. So I think, echoing a little bit of some of what you said and what's been said as far as, first game and let's all be patient and all that. But I think right now the relationship of the supporters with the club, the relationship of the supporters groups to each other is strong, some of the strongest it's been. I think some of the leadership right now within the supporters groups and within the club, as far as the liaison to the supporters groups, is the best it's been in the near term for me. And, this off season, there was a lot of great discussions. Boston, you were referring to this a little bit. But, the club and the supporters got together and they said, we've lost something, right? I mean, we had this phenomenal supporter just revolution that literally propelled us into MLS. And then, we got an MLS and COVID hit and the team sucked for 3 years. And, in the end, they were building stadiums and building training grounds, and they lost their focus on a little bit of what got us here. And that's not to criticize, because, I think we also, lost some of that as well on our side. And this year has been a real revolution of that. And I think you can see some of that just in this first game, in the energy that was brought. But, I mentioned the marching through the concourse again, right? That was something we lost coming to TQL. Now, it was new stadium, it was COVID, it was, excuse. And it's all, it's reasonable why it happened. But the issue is that we started to come back and say, what got us here? What made us so fun and so energetic back in those USL days? And let's make sure that all comes back, and we bring back that energy, we bring back that fun, and FCC becomes that event that people wanted to be at, that people clamored to be at. And I think we're getting there. And that's not to say we got there. It was a great ride, but I think we're going to continue to see that growth and that evolution throughout the season.
Thank you, Bill. That was pretty awesome, actually. And my final thoughts, the reason we do a live show is because people can correct us and help us out as we go. Tonight, someone alerted me that there is a new pretzel on the concourse. So next home match, I will be on a mission to find and give all CST viewers the best pretzel review. Maybe should I record it, put it on YouTube, guys?
Go live.
Yeah, so I will try to review that pretzel. That's really why you listen to the show. You waited 1 hour and so minutes to get that pretzel, so I'll be there for you. Anyway, opening song, kickoff. Where was our normal opening music? Oh,
I was about to say "Buy Conmigo Forever."
Yeah, what happened? Bring it back. I don't know.
Wait, they didn't play it?
No. I don't know if it's a DJ Primetime or if it's an FC Cincinnati choice, but we have to get that back. That's a tradition. We got that that comes from the COVID years, but that's one of those that needs to stay, I think.
It's almost as iconic as the wolf.
So I did see a lot of comments on social media, so I think FC Cincinnati knows. We'll see. Maybe it's a rotation. I don't know, but I would love to see it.
Bill, you got a trumpet player?
Yeah, you guys could just do it.
About brass a little bit. It's never quite come yet. No, it may. We got to get the right guy, I think, or gal. Let's not go.
Brian, you can play trumpet, right? What?
No, sir.
All right. Well, we thank you for listening to Cincinnati Soccer Talk. The comments in chat wanted us to go long and finish up the show instead of cutting it short, so that's what we did. Hope you enjoyed. We will see you again next week. Go FC Cincinnati. Keep on bringing home those points.